Good evening and welcome to all the participants. Today on September 9th, Friday, we have Ganesh immersion procession that's going on in Hyderabad, but that's apart. Holiday or no holiday, we believe that learning has to continue, and therefore we have requested a very distinguished guest today, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Please join me in welcoming him. Welcome, sir, and good evening.
Welcome, sir. Thank you, Rao, sir. Thank you, Prasad, sir.
So good to see you, sir. After, during the COVID, there was no opportunity to actually meet you, but before COVID, we met in Pune, and this is after that. So thank you so much for agreeing to speak. You're extremely busy, and I know how much it takes to actually confirm a date for any of such sessions. Thank you so much, sir. And I welcome all the participants who have joined. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 71st WiseViews Leadership Conversation scheduled with Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, and we need to conserve a lot of time now for the speaker. What I will now do is I'll quickly make a brief introduction of the speaker and hand it over to him for his initial remarks and the presentation. Yeah, this is WiseViews Leadership Conversations. We have been hosting these conversations on Friday evenings. This is the 71st week that we are with you. Yes, this time we are with a very distinguished, very popular Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. He's going to talk about how to manage your life and career the Chanakya way. The first half an hour is introduction and talk by Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, and the second half an hour, roughly, is the Q&A moderated by Prof. Prasad and myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, and he is rated as India's #1 best-selling business author with 17 best-selling books on Chanakya, starting from Corporate Chanakya, which is for the corporates and people working professionals, and also for children's series, Chatur Chanakya, where he has got readers from all age groups from across the globe. He is the founder and director of Chanakya International Institute of Leadership Studies at the University of Mumbai. This institute is created with the offering of the world's first postgraduate academic program in leadership, that is Masters in Leadership Science, MALS. The research and outcome is helping students and leaders across the globe. He also teaches in various universities and educational institutions as a visiting faculty. He has done over 1,000 lectures in prestigious institutions like National Defense College, Defense Services Staff College, IIMs, IITs, IISc, Reserve Bank of India, Bombay Stock Exchange, and National Stock Exchange, to name a few. He has been a leader and strategy advisor to over 500 organizations, including various corporations, both government and non-government organizations. These include Indian Oil Corporation, HPCL, BPCL, Tata Group of Companies, Reliance, Aditya Birla Group, Mahindra & Mahindra, Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, Police Academy, etc. That's a pretty huge spread of organizations. He has been celebrated. Many national and international awards have been conferred on him. Some of them include Avishkar Research Award by that's Governor of Maharashtra Fellowship. International Yoga Day organizer, the government of Chandigarh has conferred that award. Sardar Patel International Award for contribution to industrial development. Rotary International Award in the field of education. Lokmat Award for Best Teacher of Philosophy. Littofest Award received in the House of Lords, British Parliament, among many others. He is also rated as the top 50 management thinkers from India by thinkers50.com. This is a huge prestige and wonderful to have Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai with us this evening. He has been a part of various national and international projects of Government of India, including chief convener of the first International Yoga Day academic conference organized in USA by ICCR and Consulate General of New York. I think this was a very popular event, and he was the chief convener. He also participated and presented several papers in conferences and seminars in universities in over 20 countries. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai for this leadership conversation that is scheduled now. I will also take one more minute and introduce my esteemed colleague, Professor R. Prasad. He is the professor and course mentor for the online MBA program. He heads the academic wing at ICFAI Group, and he brings with himself a rich experience of 3 decades of entrepreneurship, professional life, as well as academic life in ICFAI. He holds a PGDM from IIM Kolkata before that, a BTech from IIT Bombay. He published several articles, edited several books, and presented a large number of papers across various seminars, conferences in India and abroad. So welcome, Professor Prasad, and thank you. With this, what I will do is I'll stop my screen and I'll quickly request Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai to give his opening remarks and make the presentation that we are all waiting for. So ladies and gentlemen, let's conserve our time and pay attention to how to manage your life and career, how the Chanakya Niti helps us to draw lessons and apply here. So thank you very much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Rao sir. Good evening, Prasad sir, and all the participants who are attending online. It's a very interesting time that we are going through. Number one, it's a festival season. As Rao sir said, in Hyderabad, Ganesh Visarjan, in Mumbai, where I'm speaking from, it's a big day because of the day when the final Ganpati immersion happens. And already the festival season is lined up right from Ganesh Chaturthi, and now we have Durga Ashtami coming up. There'll be 9 days of Durga. It will go on till Diwali and up till New Year. So let us not forget, in between all this festive season, we also have to take care about your personal lives and career. And with all this, we have the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav happening, 75 years of Indian independence. Plus, recently we have so many changes happening in all places across the globe. Sometimes it's the leaders getting changed politically or dynastically, as they say. Yesterday we had the queen leaving her body and now her son will become the king. So I think in all these flux that's happening, let us not forget our priorities. So let's enjoy life with the festive season around. At the same time, let's also make a good life and career out of the whole thing that's happening. And my input over here for the next half an hour would be speaking on Chanakya and some of his strategies. So with your permission, Rao sir and Prasad sir, can I begin?
Yes, sir.
So what I will do is I will begin with a small video. It's a video which is actually in Hindi, but we have subtitles in English also. So requesting Rao sir and the team, if you can play the video first, and then we'll come back to the PPT. So as the thing is getting set up, this video is from a serial called as Chanakya by Dr. Chandraprakash Dwivedi. It talks about his strategies, how he dethroned King Dhananand and made Chandragupta Maurya his king. So it's a very interesting serial. I would request all of you to watch it beyond this particular lecture, because I have personally seen this, recommended it, and I have seen a lot of strategies from it. So over to you, Rao sir. So as the thing is getting set up, I'll give a little more background. In our Indian culture, all successful people were supposed to have a basis of philosophy. So, even if you look at, the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, we don't just look them upon as heroes, but heroes with certain values and philosophies. So we will have a scene being shown that Chanakya will be actually discussing certain philosophies of our great Indian culture. So believe me, all our students were actually taught philosophy first before they were taught strategy. And strategy also is a philosophy by itself. Sama, Dana, Danda, Veda, as one of the very popular strategies of Chanakya, it's a philosophy also. So we'll see that, but I like to begin with a small video where, the students are discussing these kind of strategies for their own personal success.
I think the audio is not coming through.
You saw in this particular video, there is a system in our great ancient education system called as Shastrartha. Like how we have seminars, people coming and presenting papers. So here they're discussing the philosophies of our great culture. And all the students were supposed to develop many qualities. And the foremost quality is called Abhayam, being fearless. So you find that all the teachers taught not only the philosophy, but also be fearless in living those philosophies. So we'll go ahead, because Chanakya first is known as a philosopher, a great teacher, but his subject is strategy. So with that, I request Rao sir to put on the PPT, please. And friends, believe me, if you have a combination of philosophy and strategy, you can manage your whole life and career. And let's see how. Next slide, please. You can pick it up full screen. So a quick snapshot on who was Chanakya, when did he live, what did he do, and why is he a legend? So let's go back to history. Chanakya lived in the 3rd century BC, known by 3 names, Vishnugupta, Kautilya, and Chanakya. He had taken an oath to pull down the Nanda dynasty. Chandragupta Maurya's kingmaker. You saw Chandragupta Maurya in the video towards the end, yeah. So he says, if the leader is bad, I can create more leaders based on the power of knowledge. All of you are connected to an academic institution like ICFAI. Believe me, knowledge never ends. You may get a degree, you can get more degrees. But as you see, Prasad sir also, right from IITs to IIMs, and now a teacher himself of strategy. So knowledge is always ever evolving. And our country has been the knowledge center of the world for centuries. So based on knowledge, he created leaders. He also defeated Alexander, who came to defeat India or conquer India. He was responsible. But very important quality of a good teacher, documentation, writing books, what we call as textualization of knowledge. I repeat this very important thing. In India, we believe in textualization of knowledge. If knowledge is not documented, textualized, given a particular structure, knowledge will be lost. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra today has become a very prominent text where we are promoting nationally, internationally yoga. Every field, Ayurveda has got its own text. So every field of knowledge. And Chanakya also wrote Artha Shastra and Chanakya Niti. We will quickly look upon management as a topic because we find Artha Shastra, the original book written in Sanskrit. I've been fortunate to study all these 6,000 sutras in Artha Shastra, which deals with various topics. It has got 180 topics in one book. And some of the prominent topics are economics, statecraft, punishment, warfare, strategy. I call it a book of total management or leadership. Chanakya is known as a polymath, a person who can be an expert in multiple subjects, multidisciplinarian. Friends, if you go in your career, you can be a technically very sound guy initially. Later on, you develop managerial skills. Later on, you should develop leadership skills. But you should also know that there are many things that you cannot master. But you should know how to get those masters to work with you on your projects. So Chanakya, you can see, was a collaborative leader. He used to take help from other people and develop his own subject. So everything has been documented for generations to come. So after 2004 years also, we see the knowledge is available for our generation. Since we are talking about management, the next slide talks about certain subjects connected to Artha Shastra. So like principles of management, how management education is designed. Every generation will add new topics. Today, artificial intelligence, data science has become part of management. So designing the course curriculum is also a topic that Chanakya mastered in. Accounting systems, time management, leadership skills, how to make contracts. Today, everything is a contract. Unfortunately, even marriages are becoming contracts. But between two nations, international relationships also, we have MOUs getting signed up. So how to make those contracts? It's all defined. Selection of employees. Friends, first stage of a career, you attend an interview. The second stage of a career, you take an interview. You have to build a team. So Chanakya gives us how to select your team, your employees, how to be a good consultant and how to get good consultants on board. Strategic management, handling competition, expansion of territory, etc. So there are so many wide topics. As I told you, more than 180 topics. We don't have enough time, but I'll take one model for us to experience our growth in our career. It's called Chanakya 7 Pillars of a Kingdom. So Chanakya is creating leaders and he also remembers his previous acharyas, teachers. Never forget your teachers. So he's actually saluting two great teachers, Shukracharya and Brahaspati. They were Rajaniti experts. And here is a sutra that comes in book number 6, chapter number 1, sutra number 1. Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Danda Mitra Iti Prakriteyaha. What does it mean? Next slide. So if you want to be a great leader or a great king, he says there are 7 things that you have to take care. The first one is you yourself as a leader, Swami or Swamini. But you can't lead a kingdom or an organization all alone. You require Amatyas or ministers. Then you require Praja, which is called Janapada, the country. The people live in the countryside. India is a country of villages. So Janapada, then Durga, the fortified city or the infrastructure. Kosha, you need to manage your finance. I think it's very easy to understand finance. And Chanakya was an Artha Shastri. He believed in the economic strength of a country. Fortunately, we are all becoming one of the richest part of the world right now. Already we are the 5th largest economy. So without that, we would never get the respect that we demand or command in the world. Then Danda, you require a great army. And of course, Mitra, your foreign policies or your allies. All these 7 prakritis or elements put together becomes a great kingdom. Now let us see, since most of us would be in the corporate world or entrepreneurship world, how can we apply that in business? Next slide. So think about it. We are thinking about strategy. Suppose you're running a company. The 7 pillars of kingdom become 7 pillars of business. First is you require a good leader. So develop leadership qualities. Next, develop good managers below you. So captain also requires great vice captain. Janapada, your market, your customer, your client. Durga, your head office, if you are working in a plant or a machinery, world-class infrastructure, physical and digital. Then we have Kosha, your finance has to be sorted out. Chanakya says treasury should not be full. It should be overflowing. Instead of looking out for finance, you should have so much money that you should think about investments. Danda, you should have a strong support team. The larger the company, the larger number of employees. And finally, Mitra, your friend, ally, consultant, vendors, partners. So just to sum it up, you have to think what is the weak link in your particular organization. Is Swami the problem? If the Swami is good, then he has to create the level 2 leaders, that is the Amatyas. So great leaders with great managers, happy customers, good infrastructure, strong finance, support system also has to be strong, and good vendors, mitras also as important. So all of them are in place, then your organization is also in place. Today I'll just focus on one aspect of leadership, because all of you are experienced people. He or she is the captain, the Swami, and the person whose prime responsibility is to lead the organization. We can call him chairman, director, CEO. His main job or her main job is to give direction. A lot of people who have gone up their career don't understand the difference between doing and thinking. They have gone up because of their results and doing, but they will never go up. They're only doers. They have to be thinkers. So thinking is the first job of a leader. So that's why you have to focus on strategy, planning, etc. So anyway, let us look at the 7 qualities that Chanakya talks about. Actually, it talks about 36 qualities of a leader. I will take up 7. The first quality of a good leader for career growth or personal growth is intelligent and spirit. A lot of people read a lot. So they are intelligent, they are well researched, they know a lot of things theoretically, but they're not dynamic. So if you have a plan, put the plan into action. Swami Chinmayanand used to put it very nicely. Plan out your work and work out your plan. Second important thing is given to seeing elders. The Sanskrit word is Vriddha Sanyogaha. When you are implementing a plan, always have somebody senior, matured, mentor with you. So, take his or her advice. So I'm sure our professors also will be able to mentor all of you when you are actually putting out your theories into practice. Third, truthful in speech. Fourth, not breaking promises. So this is a big challenge. We are known to be people who over-promise and under-deliver. Better to under-promise and over-deliver. And, especially many IT companies have found this, the sales team is different from the delivery team. So sales team will go and sell and come there services or products, and the delivery team is worried. And the customer says, what is this big gap? So better to under promise and over deliver. So never break a promise. In fact, in Indian culture, Shabda, the promise that you give is bigger than your own life. Ramayana says, Raghukula Rita Sada Chali Ai Prana Jai Par Vachan Na Jai. Even today, we believe in the value of the word. Never make a promise. If you don't know, if you're not sure, don't make a promise. But if you make a promise, better fulfill it. Never under deliver. Then the next quality is humbleness, grateful. All leaders should be humble. And that's why we even today respect Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the president of the country, supreme commander of the 3 armed forces, but always humble and easily approachable. So be approachable, and very important quality, desirous of training. If you are the head of an organization, get trained, and please give training to your people also. Have good budgets for training sessions. You can associate with our institution, ICFAI, for delivering management programs also. Lot of people, especially SMEs, don't plan out training as a very serious priority. But leaders should prioritize. It is not an HR function. It is a leader's function to make sure training continuously happens. And finally, easily approachable, open door policy. And today we have the concept of reverse mentoring. You can actually learn from the freshers. Some of the biggest breakthrough ideas come in an organization, not only by seniors, but the junior most people. I can quote G.R.D. Tata here. J.R.D. Tata, I remember, used to take, what used to call then as management trainees. And the first meeting of the management trainees, when they used to join Tata's then, he himself used to personally address, give the vision of the company as a chairman. And these young boys and girls would talk to him and he used to take a note pen and note it down, their ideas. And he says, why are you taking down these ideas? The young boys and girls will wonder, the management training saying, no, you have out of the box ideas. Let us plan how to implement it. So don't only learn from seniors, but also from smaller. So be easily approachable. The problem with a lot of people is that as they grow higher, they don't like to be approached. Chanakya says, more the higher you are, the easily you should be approachable. And this we see in every field. If people don't come to you, you go to the people. Please go to the shop floor. Please go to the customer from time to time. Kumar Mangalam Birla has got a very interesting word that he's promoting in Aditya Birla Group. It is called boss-tomer. My biggest boss is my customer. And you'll be surprised to know that Kumar Mangalam Birla has a list of customers where he himself goes as a chairman of a company. He says, yes, my sales team will do their function, but I cannot delay only on the sales. In fact, friends, coming to the point, for career and life, if you want to be successful, two things. You should never outsource it 100% or give it to somebody else. One is called marketing and the second is called finance. You can have a finance team, you can have a CFO, you can have a marketing head or a sales head, but from time to time, you have to look into it yourself. So these are some of the leadership qualities. Next slide. So this is all reference in Artha Shastra. I will just take few more slides and then we'll open for question. The attitude of a leader. Praja sukhe sukham rajnyaha prajanam cha hite hitam. So in the happiness of the subjects lies the benefit of the king, and what is beneficial to the subject is his own benefit. What is dear to himself, I like it. Sorry, it's not beneficial to the king, but what is dear to the subject is beneficial to him.
It's 5 o'clock.
So look at what is important for the customers, your people. In fact, today, the biggest problem is not customers, but your talent, your management team. In fact, the chairman of Tata Group, Chandrasekhar ji says this very clearly. Talent is the biggest hunt for every company today. So, not only keep your customers happy, but keep your employees also happy. I'm sure most of you must have heard about this very interesting research that's happening called Great Places to Work. Great Places to Work. Please look at it, do some Google search on it. And it is said very clearly. There is a book by one Mr. Nayyar, and he says very clearly, he says, employees first, customers next. I would say employees and customers first, and leaders should be last priority. So these are our great philosophies, and the leader should be very energetic. If he's energetic, his subject will be energetic. If he's lazy, they will also become lazy, thereby eat into his wealth. If there is corruption, it is because of laziness. If there is non-performance, because the top itself is becoming non-performing. Besides, the lazy king lazily fall in the hands of the enemies. According to Chanakya, there is no competition. It's actually laziness that thrives competition. Therefore, the king himself should always be energetic. Doesn't matter it's pandemic or whatever, normal times, energy level should always be high. We have seen in the same industry during the pandemic, one company progressed while other company shut down. Same industry. So you cannot give the ecosystem or the environment or political situation as the risk. Chanakya is very clear. The biggest risk is the leader himself. So things will come and go, but the leader's energy level is what is maintaining the company and the team. Information. As I told you, it's a complete strategy session. We can do it some other time. What is the duty of a leader? He says 3 things. The affairs of a king is of 3 kinds: directly perceived, unperceived, and inferred. So it's all about information gathering. So today you can actually look at data directly perceived. You go and meet the customer and get insights. Unperceived through reports, management reports, and inferred by listening. Keep your ears and eyes on the ground, as they say. So if you can get information, and today you can easily have a lot of analytics around your information and make plans and strategies around it. This leader's job. Next slide. I like to just wind up with 3 action points. The first action point, the leader should constantly hold an inspection of their works, men being inconstant in their minds. You have to take regular reports of your people. Inspection and reporting, if not done, people can become lazy. So Chanakya says, put a good checks and balances, management information system around your company or your business, that makes it sense. Even in our country, we have watchdogs. Second action point, he should have constant association with elders, like what you're doing, this kind of a meet is to bring in some experts on panel for association with elders in learning for the sake of improving his training. Like I'm an expert on Chanakya, I'm sure you've got so many other experts coming in. Be in touch with me, be in touch with your professors, since training has its roots in that. So we're seniors also. The last point, from continuous study ensures a trained intellect. So if you want to be successful, train your intellect. And how do you train your intellect? By continuously studying. But don't just wait at only intellectual appreciation or upgrade. From intellect comes practical application. Whatever idea you get, please apply it whenever you go back. So theory has to be put into practice. And from practical application results self-possession. You become an expert. So learn from the best and make it better. Keep learning, attend courses, update your knowledge in your field, study every day for an hour. So in fact, I like to wind up with a concept called as Swadhyaya. Study, even if you're not a full-time student. I'll repeat it, study, even if you're not a full-time student, at least for an hour. And Chanakya says for a leader, he has to study minimum 3 hours every day. Only then you will be able to perform as a leader. So friends, I like to wind up by summarizing my talk. For managing life and career, the Chanakya with 3 important points. Be very clear on your philosophy and strategy. We did not spend too much time on strategy. Some other time we'll do it, but you should have 1 point, philosophy and strategy. Second, develop your leadership qualities, not just management qualities, but leadership qualities. And finally, third one, very important, is please manage your finance. And Chanakya says, artha eva pradhanaha. Finally, everything goes around how well you manage your finances. And today, Tata Group of companies, which I talk a lot about, and I'm on the advising board of quite a few Tata Group of companies like TCS. If you are financially successful, you can support the social causes also, not only corporate causes. So yes, friends. So with that, I like to take a hard stop over here and like to get more questions from all of you. Thank you so much, Rao sir and Prasad sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful. I think you started the session beautifully with the very first lesson that we are living in tumultuous times and lots of events are taking place around us in the world, not just in social life, but also in corporate life as well as in the political scenario. Several emperors are going away and new kings are being appointed. But then the life has to continue more meaningfully by inputting knowledge, constantly learning. I think we started with that very interesting spirit of learning, which is taken as a leaf out of the current happenings around us. So thank you very much for that. And this wonderful insight into Chanakya Niti or Chanakya's Ardhashastra and all the writings of Chanakya have been summarized, distilled for us in such a simple way. Everything looks like we have heard these things. Everything looks like, yes, we studied somewhere. And are we practicing? Yes, there is a question mark. So most of the people who are around the screen today are practicing managers or working professionals. Very few are actually the freshers and the students, but largely we get working professionals to join these sessions. And they are trying to apply some of the lessons that you have very, very directly touched upon. I'm very happy that this has been so succinct, this has been so direct, and also extremely useful for the participants. I'm sure it would have taken a lot of time for you to read all these texts, the originals, and understand, because the spirit of learning from an original text is altogether very different and hugely energetic. But we are very thankful that you are with us today to share some of those distilled learnings for us in those simple 1 or 2 slides that you have mentioned. What looks very simple is actually very profound behind the slide, and the kind of energy that you bring to explain that point, which will also be very clear during the Q&A session that the participants are waiting for. In my simple summary for the opening remarks, sir, we are thankful. We are not just thankful for your time and expertise here, but we are also thankful for making it extremely relevant. These are the words that we listen to. These are the jargons or some kind of contexts and concepts that we have every day. But are we making sense of it? Are we applying it? Are we using it in our work life and also in our daily life? is a very, very interesting point that we will discuss as we move forward. Thank you once again, sir. I'll request now Professor R. Prasad to initiate the first cluster of questions, and after that I will come back for the second cluster of questions. And in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any additional questions, please raise your hand or jot down. During the second cluster, we will try and see what questions we can directly take, and we'll make you ask the question directly with our esteemed speaker, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. For now, Professor R. Prasad, thank you. Please start.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Rao. I think you brought the center stage to philosophy and strategy. A lot is discussed in about strategy in business schools, less about philosophy. And I think you brought it to center stage, and you have made the very, very valid point that very strong leaders have a philosophy, whether it is Steve Jobs or whether it is J.R.D. Tata. They have very strong philosophies, and it is a strategy which backs the philosophy and brings things into action. Excellent. So we come to the first question. You're one of the few people who have done a lot of work on Chanakya and at the same time brought it out into the public world and being followed by a lot of people. So what has been your journey? What made you look at Chanakya, his mission, and how did you bring it to center stage? What drives you to Chanakya?
So what got me into Chanakya? So let me be very humble about it. I have an MBA in marketing. I started my entrepreneurial journey 22 years ago. And that time I had this feeling, why am I running my Indian company in an American way? Nothing wrong. We can take the best from America, right? From Steve Jobs to, maybe Bill Gates. But the reality is that we are the one who are running our companies now. So if you look at the Microsoft, the IBM, it is the Indians who are working. So I used to always wonder, nothing wrong in taking the best from the West. But my own home culture was a knowledge culture. So what is it that? So I started doing a lot of research, study, and I started looking at who is India's original management guru. Not just Peter Drucker or Stephen Covey. They have great gurus in their own space. We should respect them. But I think we should never forget our own motherhood. So this great country had this knowledge, and you can see, my reading habits. I'm sitting in my home library. I got 7,000 books. And, in that reading culture, I discovered what is called the Kautilya's Arthashastra. And I found, imagine somebody can tell you how to run a whole kingdom. And the kingdom is a very complex thing. It's not as easy, It's always good to blame the politicians or the bureaucracy. I'm not telling that they are right or wrong. That's a different debate. But to manage a country of a complex, structure like India is not easy. And Chanakya had a model. I said, let me study that. I studied that in original Sanskrit, all the 6,000 sutras. I did my MA in Sanskrit and PhD. And then I discovered that, these management or leadership ideas can be made relevant in our generation. But, it was not easy initially because everybody was thinking that I'm going back to the past and glorifying the past. I said, no, we have to come back from the past and apply it and make it relevant. And as Rao sir said, I tried to simplify it because if you go into the Arthashastra, you will find a lot of academic books, scholarly books. Nothing wrong in that. There is one group of people who like to get into the scholarly part of it, which is, purity part of it. I tried that, but I think the greatest contribution is to apply in your life, your career, your company, and can you then share your wisdom with others? So it was almost like, rewriting Chanakya in a modern way. I've written 21 books on Chanakya, and by the grace of God, all of them have been bestsellers because I've simplified. Many of you must have heard about my first book, Corporate Chanakya. The book took me to 22 countries, and today I teach Chanakya Niti in many institutions in India and abroad. So coming back to your answer, sir, it was so inspiring. But let me also tell you, the inspiration is two-way. I can speak on Chanakya, but somebody on the other side has to listen. Somebody has to organize. And third, somebody has to apply. So real success of Chanakya is application. And I've got thousands of case study. I will not say one or two, thousands where people have benefited from Chanakya's wisdom. So that keeps me going. So yes, one is academic research, the great Indian culture and the passion behind it. But the reality is that I've seen companies making lots of money, and ethical money, not just money, but ethical money. So I would say, let's bring back Chanakya in a modern format. I'm sure all of you must have got inspired today. Please apply Chanakya. Believe me, my own personal example, it works for yourself and the people around you.
Excellent. I think we must thank you for bringing it center stage. There is always a allegation against Indian business schools that most of what is being taught is not contextualized. And I think by writing a lot about it and bringing it to practice and speaking much about it, you are helping the cause of contextualizing what management is. Thank you. The second question is, Chanakya and Chandragupta were intricately linked. A lot of the story and a lot of the inspiration and a lot of the actual implementation took place with Chandragupta sitting in the middle. And therefore, the leader, it comes out in your presentation also, the leader is of paramount importance. So the Swami is the point number one. The leader is of paramount importance. You have mentioned 7 points of leaders. When you look at the current context, or when you look at the selection of Chandragupta Maurya that was done by Chanakya, would you like to add a few points or highlight what is it that Chanakya found in Chandragupta?
Very nice point. Unfortunately, in our country right now, leaders are elected, not selected. And as you know, election is always a manipulation game across the globe. It's always about numbers. But in our culture, if you go back to Chanakya, it was selection, the quality of a person. So let me go back to the question about Chandragupta Maurya. See, if you look at our great history, there have been instances where dynasty has been considered as the paramount quality of leadership. No, it is not the dynasty. If your father is a leader, you also have an opportunity to be a leader, but that doesn't guarantee you to be a leader. Like one of the greatest examples is about Raja Ram. Raja Ram was born in a family of kings, Dashrath, but that doesn't give him the qualification to become a leader. He also has to have those qualities. If your father is a doctor, you have to still go through the process of getting yourself medically trained, and then only you can be called a doctor. So coming back, Chandragupta Maurya was not from a leader's family. In fact, if you study, he was from a very poor background, humble background. So he was a Dasi Putra. His mother was a very, ordinary person who was working in houses. So Chanakya was looking out for a leader, because Dhananand, you saw the video, was not a great leader. Even though he had the power, he was very selfish and self-centered. He said, no, I can't have my country suffering like this. So he was going around and he saw this young boy. You saw in the video at the end of it, he had the qualities of a leader. But remember, my dear friends, having qualities of leadership in you doesn't guarantee you will be a leader. So born leaders should be trained leaders, and trained leaders should be given positions. So my suggestion to all of you is that in your own company, look out for potential leaders with the qualities. But that is not enough. You have to put them to a rigor of training. That's where you can type with ICFAI, put your whole team, develop the qualities, and then give them small projects. At the end of it, they will shine. So 3-step. Identify leadership qualities in your team or your people, train them in leadership qualities and give them position of leadership. Don't make them chairman, but you can make them a small project head. See the performance, as we call pilot project. If they do well, give them bigger projects. I'll give you a simple example. Again, going back to Tata's. There was a big problem. Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata. Unfortunately, Cyrus Mistry died on this car accident. All of you know it. But you go back, Cyrus had the largest share in the Tata Sons. He got in there, but there was a rift. I don't want to get into that. That's not my area. But they realized one thing: why don't we select a leader within the organization? And the most successful leader was the head of TCS, Chandrasekhar ji. I hope all of you remember he was leading TCS, made it one of the most profitable, largest part of Tata's. And when he got the chance to become the chairman, he performed. I don't know if you're aware of it. Chandrasekhar ji has been reappointed second term as the chairman of Tata. So you see, existing leader given a small project of TCS, performed, made a chairman and given second term. Nobody is questioning him. In fact, he's turning around companies like Tata Motors and Tata Steel. And he's already, Tata IPL, Tata Marathon. And so you have to understand one thing. Chandragupta Maurya was identified, trained, given a position. And today, even now, the whole knowledge of training is documented and we can use it. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. I think this election versus selection is a point to consider. And it's not always democracy which brings up the best in terms of leadership. Maybe in terms of interests, yes, it does bring to the forefront, but in terms of leadership, not necessarily. I think the three stages that you've mentioned are also extremely useful: identify, train, and project, and is of extremely good use for practice day to day by all the colleagues sitting around the table. The next question is there a Chanakya type genetic makeup still around? And is there any close evidence that we have in modern times? For example, if we take COVID and we take countries across the globe and leaders who have looked at it, it's a sudden kind of an adversity, nobody expected it. So is there anything equivalent to what Chanakya has said, which has been done across in some places? Can you highlight some of his philosophies and principles in that?
Many people ask me this question, saying, who is the closest person you have seen who can be called the Chanakya of modern day times? And they expect me to answer Amit Shah. By the way, for all of you, Amit Shah considers Chanakya as his role model. But I consider Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel as a role model Chanakya. Now, to understand that, you have to go back into that era. Imagine 1947, India just got freedom from the Britishers. But look at that situation. We were not one country. We were 550 princely states coming together. I'll repeat it. We were not one country. We were 550 princely states coming together. And Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had three responsibilities. Number one, he was the deputy prime minister along with Nehru. Number two, he was the home minister and information and broadcasting minister. So three top portfolios, and his biggest job is to get this 550 princely states together. Not a difficult task, not an easy task. For thousands of years, all these princes, rajas used to consider themselves as a monopoly, and you have to break that, and not one or two. Imagine 550 princely states. So number one is that to set up a good governance system in a modern era. Second, he was a lawyer. He had to bring in modern law into the application of an old civilization. The third important thing that he did was, himself putting up lot of checks and balances. The Indian Police Academy in Hyderabad is called as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Police Academy. The reason is that he was very strict, and he is known for using what is called as Danda Niti of Chanakya. Danda Niti means the rule of punishment. So if you look at it, if you look at what happened in many places, everybody did not agree. So be it Hyderabad, be it many other places, they said, no, we don't want to join the union. So that time we had to use something called as Danda Niti. Junagadh also was a problem. A lot of people say, if Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel could even solve the Kashmir problem that time, he wouldn't have been facing this challenge. So coming back, but the center of everything is that he was never into power politics. So there is one story which says that he was actually appointed or selected as the prime minister. I don't want to get into that debate again. That's not my area. But the whole idea is that somebody who says it's okay to be deputy prime minister and still lead the country. And today we have the Statue of Unity to unite so many people. So he was absolutely unselfish. I have done my first research work on the life of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. It said that when he died, his personal bank account only had 51 rupees. Even if you look at today with all inflation, it could be 50,000 rupees. But for a home minister who could take away the power from 550 princely states, he only had 51 rupees. That shows that his personal integrity mattered a lot. So I think, friends, for me, the modern Chanakya, till now at least, has been Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us a flesh and blood example that we are able to relate to in our immediate past, and we are also able to understand because it has not been too much of a time. The next question is, it takes India versus the others right now. India wants to be one of the top 2 economies by 2047. And given the demographics, it certainly can do so. US is one of the economies that it has to overtake because in all probability, the highest one would be China. Now, both the US, China, and the other major economies will push back. So what would Chanakya's moves be to reach this goal?
So I'll introduce all of you to a concept called as Vijig issue. I'm sure many of you must have heard it for the first time. Vijig issue. It's a terminology that comes in Artha Shastra. Vijig issue means the one who wants to be a world conqueror. A lot of people say we don't go and attack other countries. We don't and we should not. Conquering doesn't mean winning. Britishers conquered us, but they could never win us. But Chanakya has a strategic way of winning people. So what Chanakya would suggest is that there's a strategy I will tell you right now, you can apply in your companies. If you want to be world number 1, the first thing is to be among the top 10. So let's say, there are 180 countries. Okay, let's say you are playing the Olympic thing. You cannot say, I will go and win the Olympic gold medal directly. You have to qualify for Olympics. So the first thing is to become part of the top 10. The next journey is to become part of the top 3. And among the 3, one of them will become number 1. So the Olympics, you have the top 3, gold, silver, and bronze. So they're good. But Chanakya says, never compromise for number 2. You never win a silver medal. You actually lose a gold medal. So the Chanakya strategy is first become part of the top 10, then move to the top 3. And then among the 3, one of them will become number 1. Now coming back to the real situation that I think the hard work is done. Last 75 years, we've been struggling. Now we are part of the top 5. So, very recently we came to know that we are the 5th largest economy of the world, leaving behind even Britain. Britain is having major problems, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. I'm not even talking about the smaller countries. Now the thing is that Chanakya would clearly say, if you want to become a world leader, it has to be an economic model. I'll repeat it again. He's very clear. It cannot be a military model. Because World War I and World War II, they tried it. Russia is trying it, I think, across the world. So coming back, every country wants to be number 1. So I think it's not only India, but every Indian wants to be number 1. But, India has got a very interesting advantage. So, from moving from 180 countries to 10 itself is a journey. That journey we did not have to take. The previous generation did it. And I'll tell you one good thing our forefathers did. As a culture, as a family, we invested in education. America, they say first build infrastructure. They built roads. They built ports. So there's a big debate during those days. Should we spend on education or should we spend on infrastructure? America took the route of infrastructure. And for all those friends who have traveled to US will understand, even the roads are so classical. Today, we are still building infrastructure in our country. But interestingly, countries which have good infrastructure requires intellectual capital that India is providing. So if you look at the best CEOs of the world, they actually invested in education. So I think one good news for all of us is that, in our own lifetime, I'm very clear, in our own lifetime, in the next 10 years, we will see India as the number 1 country in the world. Only thing is that we have to just follow what we call the Chanakya rule. And that is, if you're good at something, continue doing it. So if India is good at something, so continuous education is something that we believe in, continuous strategy. And I can tell you this because I keep traveling across the globe. There are 2 types of Indians today. Indians living in India and Indian diaspora abroad. The people across the globe who are from Indian origin is also India's strength. So just to give an example, Subhash Chandra Bose, he built what is called the Indian National Army. But if you study properly, you'll understand Indian National Army was not built in India. It was an outside model. He traveled to Germany, Singapore, Japan. So I think politically, we need to be very good in our international relations with other countries. But let us not forget that the Indians abroad who have been there for the last 2-3 generations, they also are our asset. So my suggestion to all of you is that please partner with Indians abroad. And they're also an asset to our country. Formally, they may not be citizens of India on passport, but they have an emotional connect. Therefore, if you look at it economically, the largest FDIs, foreign direct investments and FFIs, foreign institutional investments are coming from abroad. And the people sitting over there are supporting India in a big way. So as we say, apna time aayega nahi, apna time aa chuka hai. Our time has arrived. Make the best of it and become number 1 Vijigishu in this lifetime only.
Excellent. I think you're not talking about top 2. You're talking about the number 1, and so going for the jugular is what you're talking about. And you feel that this is something that we can achieve through our intellect, and which we are already demonstrating. And you're reinforcing the power of relationships and collaborations with not just countries abroad, but more specifically with Indians who are there abroad. Thank you. I think there are some other questions, but I'll stop at this stage and hand it back to Professor Rao.
Wonderful, sir. I think I'm quite excited as much as the participants are. The kind of depth that you are taking at every response to a question, it is making, I'm sure it is promising to be more than 1 hour. Let it be. I think we are actually liking it. I will request you to continue to make it likable by all of us, because we are making huge notes, lots of points we are taking away. I think this fun of learning and the meat of learning should continue for us for a little longer time than anticipated. Thank you, sir. I will take simple questions, and these are application-oriented questions, if you permit. It is well known that in any organization, the position for top is only 1. But if many have leadership traits, will there be conflicts? How do you look at this?
Very beautiful question. I'll give a real life example. We are working with a company where the CEO was a performing CEO. He took the company, a family run business, from 50 crores to 5,000 crores. Now think about it. A family run business. He's a CEO. I know personally. They called me for a leadership program. CEO was a very good leader. The board was family run. So from 50 crores, he took it to 5,000 crores. But there's a problem. He wanted to retire at 60. The board, the family members never wanted him to retire. So they gave him an extension for 2 years. And then again another 2 years. He was very tired. He says, I can't be working lifelong. He went to the board and said, I don't want to work anymore. But then they asked him, who is going to be the CEO? Well, I never thought about it. See, this is a problem. Leaders after retiring also don't want to retire. But you cannot just retire half-heartedly. You have to have a succession plan. So that is the time when I make your interview. I said, do one thing in your team. How many people have leadership qualities? So I identified 3 of them and said, let's train all 3 of them. So we worked with them for whole 1 year. And after 1 year, again the CEO went to the board and said, remember, I'm 64 years now. I can't continue, but I have a solution to your problem. I got 3 potential leaders. You select. So it's good, right? You're having 3 good vice captains, potentially identified, trained, and now the board decides who's going to the CEO. But you'll be surprised what happened. The board was so happy with the CEO. He said, you take a big package, you go. But now we got 3 CEOs. One person will make the company CEO. The other 2 will open up new companies for him. So, it's a mindset that only one person can become a leader. Why? Why can't we have multiple leaders in the same organization? In fact, it is said, yes, in many cases, like, positions like chairman, it can be one. So there is a Jack Welch model. If there are 3 good leaders, 2 of them have to leave. Otherwise, it will become a political, corporate politics. But Chanakya has a different solution. If you have 3 leaders, start 3 kingdoms. So why work about competition? Think about collaboration. So you can be good if you become one great. If you can become a good leader in other organization also, and all 3 of you should work together to help each other. So Chanakya model is not survival of the fittest. It is, live and let live. So let there be more leaders for more organizations. And if you can't be a leader in your organization, go out. There are thousands of companies waiting for Indian leaders. So go abroad and become the chairman of another company. Thank you.
Very, very interesting, sir. Very interesting in the sense that you have compared Jack Welch or the modern day management or leader to Chanakya's beliefs and practices. And there are solutions there which you have suggested. I think if there are more than 2 leaders or if there are 3 good leaders, expand your territory or look at new territories so that you all can be there. Instead of retiring 2 of them, you can create more opportunity as in the case your client has expanded and broken down the company or created new companies to cater to the 3 leaders that were actually identified. Wonderful case study that you have shared with us. Thank you very much, sir. I'll quickly go to the next question. Ladies and gentlemen, you can raise your hand in case you have any questions to ask. I can see the excitement. The excitement is palpable in the comment section that you're writing. Several questions are coming, but you raise the hand. We will not have time to actually look at the text and then make sense of it. If you raise your hand, we will open the window for you. Keep raising your hand. Thank you. The second question is, sir, this is about work-life balance. How to balance profession and family? And currently, is there any improvement in work-life balance because of work from home?
So I would say, please sort out your finances first. See, please understand one thing that, work-life balance, and especially in India, if you're working, family is a big priority, the biggest priority, I would say. And in India, we work for the family. Our income is not ours. Unlike the Western culture where, it's an individualistic culture. You earn for me and I earn for myself. No. In India, you have a family culture. So for work-life balance, I would suggest 2 things. Sit down with your spouse and sort out your finances. Very important. Even if she's a working or a non-working lady. Okay. And for the ladies, I would say to please discuss your finance with your husbands. It's always a family planning. Now coming back, the second thing is self-discipline. Like today is technically a holiday. I'm working on this day, but working from home. But I should have the discipline of telling, when I will not work and when I will work. So please bring out some family time. And that's a very important part. It could be 1 day a week, or it could be 3 hours a week. And let me also warn you over here, if you're in leadership position, the gap between work and life will become smaller. You'll be working 24/7. And unfortunately, because of technology, you are always available. I find my team working more on Saturdays, Sundays. So I would suggest that, please look at, yes, drawing the line. You have to be self-disciplined and saying, I will not do beyond this particular point. I don't want you to go to the Western model saying that, only 5 days I'll work and after Monday I'll come. If there's an important event or a mail to be answered, you may have to do it sitting at home also. But you should know your priorities. The second thing is that please adapt to hybrid model at the earliest. Please adapt to hybrid model at the earliest. Today, there are a lot of courses happening in leadership space, how to manage hybrid teams. I know people who have never seen their employees for the last 1 year, but they're performing because you took the interview online, they're working on site or at home and still they're performing. So I think one of the biggest challenges post-pandemic is work-life balance in the hybrid model. So, and all start with self-discipline. Even if the holiday is there, people mentally work. A lot of people go to office and think about the home. And I have one particular suggestion, please take care of your health. And again, going back to Tata chairman, he has got a very interesting tagline. He says, work out every day before you go to work. Work out every day before you go to work. So do some exercise, whichever you do, maybe swimming, jogging, yoga, whatever you do, walking, talking, whatever it is. So I think it's very important to keep your body healthy for work-life balance. So please adapt to the changes and you will be perfect in whatever you do.
Wonderful, sir. I think I'll take only one point at this time because of out of the 4 pearls that you have shared with us, work out before you go to work is amazing, and it's important given the age group of the professionals who are participating right now. It's extremely relevant for them. Of course, we need to have discipline, we need to sort out finances, we need to adopt hybrid models, the sooner the better, so that we can achieve what is called work-life balance. Thank you very much, sir. Any advice for people who are balancing their profession and entrepreneurship simultaneously? And what is your suggestion for work-life balance, especially for women?
So 2 questions. Working professionals who want to become entrepreneurs. Please understand your first commitment is for your job because that's where you get a regular paycheck from. And don't be a person who goes to the office and works for your entrepreneurial journey. You are actually playing 2 cards simultaneously. My suggestion is that be committed to your job wherever you are working. So if you're working for 8 hours, don't go there and start making websites of your companies. That is unethical. Forget the ethical part of it. It's a personal commitment that if I'm getting salary, I will work, do my productivity. But after 8 hours, can you spend 2 hours per day at home to build your entrepreneurial journey? I would say, it's like, this line is big. It is giving you the kind of finances required, the kind of a career graph required. But entrepreneur is a small thing. You have to work extra every day. Maybe on Saturdays, Sundays, you work for more time. Make it very big. And I would say, there comes a point in a life where you say, now I'll no more work in a job. I'll become a full-time entrepreneur. That time you have to discuss with your family and especially sort out your finances. I'll give an example. Have you heard about an author called as Anand Neelkanthan? If not, you can Google it. He's the creator of Bahubali.
Yeah.
He wrote many books and he used to work for Indian Oil Corporation. Imagine a government job. And for a Malayali or an Indian, getting a government job is like dream. Can you believe it? That he actually quit an Indian Oil. He was the marketing head of Indian Oil. And it is a multinational Indian company. It's a Navaratna, paying, good salary. But he started writing in the evenings on Saturdays, Sundays. He built his career. And when he left, he was very clear, I'm getting more money than in my regular job. So the first thing about entrepreneurship is that, don't take it lightly. It's a big commitment. In fact, you will not have work-life balance if you're going for entrepreneurship. The second thing is about entrepreneurs and women. I always believe that women are natural entrepreneurs. Women are natural entrepreneurs. They are good multitaskers. Unfortunately, they have to manage their families first. There's nothing wrong in that. So I would suggest for women, start small businesses where you can manage your family along with your entrepreneurial business. When the children grow up, it's easy to go into entrepreneurship full time. But for women, I always suggest, please keep studying yourself. Please keep educating yourself. But the children will require you till a particular point of time. So let's say when the children are gone to colleges, you'll have more time. But at that time, you cannot say I'm an available lady, I can work anywhere. No, you'll go back to a job. But I don't want you to go over to a job, get a good qualification when you're a mother. You can take out 2 hours every day, study, equip yourself. And believe me, afterwards, you will be a lady who will be respected. And it's always good to be a mother and an entrepreneur. So with the ladies, I would say, please also make an ecosystem around you. Your family support, your relatives, your children, everybody should be there to help you out. It's not going to be easy because there's a lot of expectation from homemakers. But you will never regret if you can balance everything. And since you are naturally a multitasker, it's an easy thing. But have the support of good education qualification. Second is, small team that supports you, your domestic help, your family, etc. And the third one is please work out in the finance again. Because if you can make money, you'll have the independence to, do a lot of investments into your business again. Thank you.
Great, sir. Wonderful. There are a lot of points there actually for women. Now, women are regarded, according to you and according to many other gurus, that they are very good at multitasking. They are natural entrepreneurs. All they have to worry, I mean, it's applicable to even men, that we need to keep studying, updating, create a small team that can take care of the requirements of the family and the requirements of the business. But women can actually do very well because they are natural multitaskers. Thank you very much. It's not easy. It's not easy to actually strike what is called a work-life balance. But if one can structure it out carefully, work out the finances carefully, and also the support teams, I'm sure it is possible. Thank you very much, sir, on that. I'll go to the next question. We are seeing multiple career stints. Can multiple career stints with breaks a viable alternative in the given day, today?
In fact, that is what you should do. Please take a break from your career. It's not very good in India because we've been a struggling economy. Every pie mattered for us. Our previous generation used to work 24/7. Now at least you are having a concept of weekend. Our concept of holiday was going to our native places. At least now you have enough money to go for some vacation and all those things. Now let me tell you, friends, in the Western world, they always very clearly believe a concept called sabbatical. Sabbatical comes from the Jewish word Sabbath. It's a spiritual break. In India, it's a very, very big social problem. We don't like to take breaks. We like to keep running. So if the child is given a 10th standard, immediately everybody will ask, what are you going to do after your 10th standard exam? I want to take a break for a year. Nobody will actually like you. After graduation, the first question is, where are you working? Why should I work? Can't I take a break? After you're working, when are you getting married? After you got married, when are you going to become a parent? After you become a parent, what are your children doing? You look at this structure, it's actually a problem because nobody gives time for themselves to do some sabbatical. So multiple breaks are very good. I'll give you an example. I remember in a multinational company, a girl had applied, okay, and she had taken a motherhood break. In India, motherhood break, women go through a lot of guilt. They feel that after they come back, they'll be useless because their skills will be outdated. So this girl was from Europe. She applied for a job after a 2 years break. She was not working. So in the interview, the interviewer asked, what were you doing for 2 years? You had a break, you worked, and you took a tour. You know what? I was learning cycling and I participated in some cycling tournaments across the world. And the boss said, come, welcome. Now you got good skills about cycling. You are fit. Please come back. How many Indians would do that? We don't like people to take a break. And especially on a CV, if there is a gap, they say, somewhere there should be something wrong. No. Now coming back to the question, all the people over here may experience this. There was a research that people change at least 3 careers before they settle down in one career. It's very natural to have career, choices. Like I'll tell you, I used to work in jewelry industry. I used to work in the cricket field, sports management. I used to work in the music industry, film industry, till I found my own entrepreneurial journey and Chanakya. Now I'm very settled. So don't worry about taking breaks. Don't worry about, changing the gears. But once you find what is called the sweet spot in your life, commit to it full time. The choice is to find your choice. But once you have found your choice, don't change your choice. So take breaks, but come back to what you're good at. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Find your sweet spot and then commit to it. Take a break if you have to. And once you make a choice, stick to it. Wonderful. Sir, learning from your own career journey, you have worked initially in the marketing. You you've been a marketing professional. So one relevant question has come up from the audience. That is, what is your one or two points to handle marketing objections? How to handle marketing objections?
So two things. There's a big difference between sales, marketing. And today we're going to the third level called as branding. So let me tell you the difference between the three. Sales is actually a salesman's job. Selling the product or services and getting money. That is sales. So we have sales department. I used to be in sales. I used to sell audio cassette CDs of a music company. Then I realized one thing that doesn't work. You have to do a marketer. A marketing is bigger than sales. You create, a lot of marketing programs. You go and meet people. You build relationship. Many times when you build relationship, it may not convert it to sales. It may not give you revenue, but still that's where at the organization level and the individual level, you have to be a brand. For example, today Tata is a big brand and whatever product they bring out sells very well because of their marketing ability. So let me give an example. So, Tata has got same product with multiple categories. I'll repeat it. Tata has got same product with multiple categories. So let me give an example. Tata is into mineral water. Many people don't even know that so many products. They have a premium product called as Himalaya. Himalaya is a mineral water, product of Tata. And the same company has produced another mineral water brand called as Tata Copper. Himalaya 1 liter is 100 rupees and Tata Copper is 20 rupees. So now understand they have a brand called Tata. They have a marketing product called as Himalaya, or maybe it has got, what Tata Copper. The sales team is different. So you cannot have the Himalaya guys selling the copper because the copper goes to the lower end of the bottom of the pyramid. And the high-end 5-star goes for Himalaya. So your sales team is different. Same thing Tata has done with Starbucks and Tata Tea. Tata Tea is available in every chota, as we say, chai shops. But Starbucks is a brand by itself under Tata. They even supply the raw materials. So coming back to the theory, yes, sales is important because sales brings revenue. But before you bring in sales, understand marketing. Now coming back to the question about marketing objections, believe me, when you go out, if you don't have a marketing budget, everybody will object. So marketing is a science by itself. You should have good marketing budget. It can go into advertising, it can go into social media, etc., etc. So therefore, the second objection, a lot of people get threatened by actually bringing a personal brand. You are working for a company, why are you creating a personal brand? Sometimes, the brand, the individual is bigger than the company. So today, I think everybody should market himself or herself. I'm not telling you to go for different jobs. Can you have your own, I would say LinkedIn account, Facebook account, Twitter account? So that's marketing, self-marketing. I'm not telling you self-selling. I know people who are working in Tata's first job and still with Tata's after 30 years. But they believe that they have to be marketing themselves. So don't worry about selling. People will object to every kind of marketing. I'll tell you, I used to market myself and Chanakya a lot. Market myself not as an individual, but as a teacher of Chanakya. But that helped me in my career. And today I'm a brand by itself because of Chanakya brand. So I think understand the difference between selling, marketing and branding. And all three are science by itself. Sales brings you revenue. Marketing gives you a larger pool of the market. But branding gives you the reputation and the respect that is deserved. So build all the three. People object karenge, they will object, doesn't matter, but keep working very hard towards building your own brand. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Sales, marketing, and branding. Although we did not ask that question, that clarity is quite helpful. These are the benefits of talking to you. So you keep delighting us every time you respond. Sales brings revenues. Marketing will probably create an access to an additional pool of market, whereas branding gives you the much needed respect and the reputation which is required for you to have a continuous onset of revenues towards the end over a long time, over a long term. Wonderful. But marketing objections will be there. We need to keep handling, and that is wonderful. So one last question before we invite the audience to ask the question. Lavanya, you can be ready to ask this question, but let me take one before that. What are the 3 most frequent mistakes made a professional, generally the professionals make these mistakes which jeopardize their careers. And we want to know from you and we can avoid those things.
So the first mistake people make is they don't study after they get a job. If you're studying after getting a job, you're a rare category. Believe me, everybody doesn't believe in continuous education. So people think I got an MBA already and I got this job. They'll be, believe me, once you start working after 2 years, that MBA will also become irrelevant. Today is a generation of specialization. So keep studying. The first mistake is not studying after your career is made. The second mistake is management of the ego. See, as you keep growing up in your career, there'll be a lot of people who will be left behind. Unfortunately, that is the reality of the world. But you should never have the ego. People say, I have outgrown that particular person. Why should I spend time with him? Your own colleagues who are with you, and suppose you have become the head or you are become a senior guy. Many times I've seen people not giving access to them.
Yes.
In fact, that's a big mistake. The people who are left behind, you have a responsibility to pull them up also. Maybe they can become part of your team. So that's the second mistake, not giving access to people who are left behind. The third and the most important thing, everybody knows about it, is your own ego. And the best about ego is not listening to the small guys. The one indication of humility, of not having ego, is keeping your ears and eyes open to the last person. Unfortunately, as you grow up in your career, you only network with the bigger guys. Nothing wrong in that. You should work with the bigger guys, smarter guys, more senior guys. But don't forget that sometimes your breakthrough can come from the last person. So if you can spend at least, maybe few hours, 3 hours per week, it's a small number I'm giving you. If you can spend at least 3 hours per week connecting with the last person in your organization or going to the market, or believe me, you will grow in your career because you will have insights beyond what the reports give you. You'll have insights beyond what the reports give you. So these are the 3 things that is coming off mind. Otherwise, there are many.
Wonderful, sir. I think this is extremely relevant and we will actually take a small pause here. These 3 important points, most of us are in careers and most of us are making these mistakes. I want to be very, very honest about it. I would like to request Professor Prasad also to come in. We have put together an extremely contemporary program of MBA that is now being delivered online. Therefore, we are calling it online MBA. MBA is not new to this country. MBA is not new to ICFAI. But there is a new program which has been launched recently with several learnings from the past, connecting it to the house of quality that ICFAI is, and also making it extremely contemporary and relevant to the working professionals. How we can incorporate these, I'm sure the first thing that comes to my mind is people who don't study after the job, people who don't upgrade themselves, don't upskill themselves, don't keep learning, probably we get left behind. We will be irrelevant over a period of time. How our online MBA program, what is the philosophy behind this? Philosophy is equal to strategy, we learned in the beginning of the session. So Professor Prasad and Professor Radhakrishnan Garu, both of you will have to help us understand how these programs can be made extremely useful and relevant and how ICFAI has started. Maybe we'll have an initial response from Professor Prasad and then over to Professor Radhakrishnan.
I think an educational program, just as much as a book, gives you a frame of reference. The frame of reference is to connect to what is around you. Just as Dr. Radhakrishnan was talking about Chanakya then and Chanakya today. It is Arthashastra. Arthashastra is a framework in what Dr. Radhakrishnan is talking about. What we are talking about is the conceptual frameworks that MBAs bring. I mean, technology is one dimension in it, but there are many age-old principles. After all, it came from ancient science, whether it is war or whatever else it may be. So these frameworks help you to reflect on what's happening around you. And a lot of people, I mean, for us, it's the online MBA program, but any educational program gives you that new frame of reference. The issue is that many times the way education is delivered in India, it is taken as a set of things that you should pass. Now, that's where the mistake is made. If you're able to see through real life eyes, those frameworks through real life eyes. So the example here is of a working student, because the program caters largely to working students. 90-95% are working. So their entire workspace is in front of them. They see so many dramas and stories happening every day. Now, how do you use all that and connect it through these frameworks and therefore enrich yourself to handle these things better is what an MBA actually gives you. And the power of the online MBA is that you're still working and you just need to spend those hours a day outside that space and see how to build your experience and construct something out of it for the future. Today, innovation and entrepreneurship are driving economies. And if you're doing it within your organization, it is innovation. If you make a business model out of it, you can run a venture out of it, it can be. But either way, if you don't do that, then you just remain there. So how you pick up from an idea and bring it to implementation, whether it is inside or outside, is what an MBA should be able to do at the end, because they are leading the charge, whether it's the PM of the country running the country or whether it is somebody who's on the shop floor, they are leading the charge. So if you're able to bring in that particular innovation in today's change, I think that's what's going to add value and that contributes to the drive to become the number one. I leave it at that.
Dr. Radhakrishnan.
So any particular education program, as Prasad sir pointed out, gives you new conceptual frameworks. My suggestion is that please enroll on any academic program which gives you a conceptual framework. But I'll tell you, there are 3 benefits from it. Benefit number 1, even if you are already an MBA, let me tell you, even if you are already an MBA, when you do an MBA for the second time, it's upgraded knowledge. It's updated knowledge. So don't imagine that, what I learned 10 years ago is the same thing that they teach. No. So every education institution updates its course curriculum. I know of so many people who have done the double PhDs, and I ask them why. Saying that, that PhD was 10 years ago. Now it's an updated PhD. So number 1, the benefit that you get is your knowledge gets updated. Second benefit, which everybody forgets, your classmates, be it online or offline, you network with other professionals in different companies, in different fields. The third important thing, you have got live case studies. One is when the professor is taking the class and your colleague is also a live case study. He or she will be applying in their organization, sharing the ideas with you, and you also will be doing that. Imagine we got 50 students in your class, just as a number, So imagine you're learning from 49 people plus the professor. So at the end of every class, you got 50 new case studies and you'll be the 51st. The professor will come back with an academic framework of his case studies, which is his reading, his researching, he'll bring out. But that is not the only one. The one sitting next to you in the class, online class or offline class, he will tell you, I applied in my company. So he's a case study. If you can document, believe me, you're so rich. You'll have a new problem. And the problem is too many choices. So much knowledge, theoretical and practical. So please join and believe me, it really works wonders. And your friends are for life. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
I just want to add to what Dr. Radhakrishnan said. I think this is extremely important. If you've got friends sitting in class who have work experience, you've got as many students as you've got eyes.
Yeah.
Eyes into the market. And therefore, that level of peer learning is a completely different thing, which you can get in an online kind of a program with people with work experience.
So amazing. I think what is relevant today, or the takeaway from this session for today, is that constantly upgrading yourself, join a program. Even if you are an MBA sometime back, join again, because you would have upgraded your knowledge. Second, there is an amazing access to networking. And the third one is you are dealing with live case studies apart from the simulation case studies that the pedagogy brings in. That is anyway there, the micro cases or the macro cases. In addition to that, the people who are part of your classroom, I think our online MBA program sessions would bring in this much more than any other program, because of the practice and the lessons from the practice that they bring in. It makes a very, very rich discussion in the classroom, albeit this is an online classroom, but the kind of people who can very quickly apply various frames of reference or the concepts that we are talking about so quickly, it can be made learning easy and fun. I think that is wonderful for us. I'm a fresher when I studied my MBA, and I was a fresher when I studied my MBA, and understanding those concepts at the time was always difficult. Actually, management is something which you'll understand by application. Even in the beginning of the session, Professor Radhakrishnan has mentioned, you apply, contextualize it. I think that's where it really becomes, it comes live for our understanding as well as application. So thank you very much, sir. And one point that that actually draws a line here is that any program, whether it is ICFAI's program or anybody else's program, if it has real world learning for real life applications, which I'm sure ICFAI is, if I'm not having any bias, it is called owner's bias. Yeah. But if you have a real world learning for real life application, that's what we should go for. So thank you very much, sir. That's a wonderful point that has come up, and I'm very happy about it. Now we'll open the window for Lavanya to raise that question. Srikanth, can we help that, please?
Good evening, sir. Thanks a lot for the amazing presentation. My question was, in Chanakya's Arthashastra, there is reference to one cardinal principle like friend's friend is friend, friend's enemy is enemy, enemy's enemy is friend. So how does that dovetail with handling known unknowns in the current scenario? For example, if a person in marketing or strategy, the competition might be known, but the form in which they might adopt predatory tactics is unknown. So how do you connect both of them, sir?
Thank you. For all the people interested in this question, this concept or framework is called as Rajamandala theory. Okay. So this is a concept used in international policies. Rajamandala theory comes in book number 6 of Arthashastra for reference. You can go and Google it. A lot of research papers available. Thank you, Lavanya. You brought out a very interesting point. Enemy's enemy is a friend. It's actually used in geopolitics more. But coming back to the corporate example, if you look at it, let's say you have an competition enemy and his competition becomes your friend. But I don't want to limit it to only that. Believe me, your supplier or vendors today are actually common. Okay, so today it is not competition alone, it's also co-opetition. But when you come to the point that imagine your two competitors having a common vendor, what do? Two competitors having a common vendor, then it becomes a commodity game. Like, I'll pay you 100 rupees, the other guy is paying you 98 rupees. That's why you should have another friend with you who can give you maybe 96. So what do multinational companies do? They have this concept called as 3 vendors. So the one vendor is going to the competition. I will choose my own vendors from the remaining 2. So as you grow bigger and bigger, that becomes a problem. In fact, you'll be surprised, multinational companies actually work on this only, vendor management globally. Imagine, I don't know if you heard the news today, Tata may be making Apple phones in India. Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, it's a manufacturing. Imagine this, Tata has pitched that make in India, Apple phones will be made in India by Tata. So where is this line? And saying that, no, he's not my competition, but he can be my friend to scale up my business. I'll give another example. Recently there's a lot of tourism development in India. A lot of new hotels coming up. Within Tata Group, there are many verticals within Indian hotels. The most famous one is Taj Group of Hotels, but we have Vivanta, we have Ginger Hotels. Do you know in many places where the future, for example, I think the current government is promoting a lot of spiritual places. In Ayodhya, Tata is building 4 5-star hotels simultaneously. Not 1 or 2. There'll be 4 Taj hotels coming up. So now summarizing the whole thing, you need to have an eye on the market potential also. So, sometimes it's a strategy of, friend versus enemy, but there could be a strategy called as mergers and acquisition also. I'll give a live example. Have you heard about a company called as Varroc? Many of you may not be heard about. It's actually a sister concern of Bajaj. And their turnover is more than, I think, now 30,000 crores. It's that big. We don't even know these big companies in India because they're very silent. I always tell them, please do some branding. Okay, their CSR budget, corporate social responsibility, philanthropy, charity budget is almost 100 crores per year. That's so big. So imagine we have companies in India. Now coming back, I remember the first stage when they were around 3,000 crores. You know what they did? They went to the vendors and they said, if I have to grow, you have to grow. So they actually invested money in their vendors. And the vendors actually got a good boost, and some of the companies that took over also. So what we are discussing is, at a very high level corporate takeovers. And today, as we say, geopolitics and corporates are getting involved. So coming back, it's a very strong framework to become a Vijig issue. So we only know about the 2 big players, maybe Samsung and Apple or maybe Pepsi and Coke. But India is already positioned and we require this model of Rajamandala theory. But I just want to warn over here, this is not a model for anybody and everybody. It's a leadership model. Only matured companies can understand it. So as you said, enemy's enemy is a friend, but actually enemy can be a friend also in a given situation. So let me tell you, it is said that, let's say I'm in a house, I may fight with my brother every day, but when an outsider comes in, my brother becomes my best friend. Now in a village, I may be one house fighting with another house, my neighbor, but when an outside villager comes in, we become one. So in country also like India, we keep fighting among states, but when an outsider comes in, we become one. And then you go to the next level, Asia. So all the Asian countries will come together against Europe. So I think it's a very matured model. Thank you for pointing it out. For those people who are aiming at leadership at the global level, who want to become CEO of multinational companies, Rajamandala theory is a must for all of you. Chanakya will help you there. Thank you.
So what I will do is that there are one or two questions in the question and answer box. I'll just take one out of that. Does wisdom and knowledge make you too serious and boring? I mean, this is a very offbeat kind of question.
Yeah. Do you think I was boring?
Not at all.
Actually, there's a saying in the space of knowledge, be sincere, not serious.
Be sincere.
Not serious. So there's a concept that actually knowledgeable people are very, stern. They don't smile. They don't interact. They're not approachable. In fact, I remember Einstein saying this. I read it somewhere. If you can't simplify it enough, you have not understood it completely. So the most knowledgeable people are actually the ones who will tell it in a simple way, not complicated. Otherwise, we keep using jargons, trying to impress people. But actually, jargons takes away people from you. They don't come second time. So I think it's very important. Knowledge and wisdom is to be made humble, simple, and if possible, even humorous. If you can put humor into your wisdom and knowledge, believe me, people love it. So be a smiling professor.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'll just take it back to Professor Prasad in case he has any point to make, and then I'll come back to wrap it up. We are now at 98 minutes of this session, sir.
I think this one is for students who are looking at, or anyone working who's looking at growth. There's a lot of confusion in the beginning, much so because of the kind of options which are available and the kind of influences which play upon people before they settle down. And for those who put their foot into the first one, we have referred to 3 careers before settling down. There is turbulence in that. So what is the guidance that you can offer to people belonging to that category where they have not yet found their sweet spot?
Very nice point. So how to find the sweet spot? I will give you an Indian example. Do you know, a lot of people struggle. They think they're successful. They're having good positions, salaries, world travel, and the outside world perceives them as a very successful corporate person. But if you ask them one-to-one, they're very frustrated. Family life is disturbed. They're having high level stress. And then we ask them to a deeper level, what happened? They say, I'm not enjoying my work. So then you go into more details and find out. So what is happening is that there are 2 reasons why you choose a career. One is a very common, one is for your career growth and finances. And second is a very interesting point, is to find happiness. There are a lot of theories around it, but I'll tell you the Indian model. If you can find what you're good at, the earlier it is better. And we have an interesting, structure in India. Unfortunately, we don't consider it very seriously. It's called astrology. In India, we have a system when the child is born, the typical good astrologer, I'll use the word good, because unfortunately we go to astrologers only for knowing our future or when there is a complex problem. Actually, astrology is not only about futurology. Astrology will actually tell you what the nature is. So the Sanskrit word is find your swadharma. So, in India, typically when a child is born, the first thing the family does is to tell the astrologer the time and everything, and they calculate a chart. But unfortunately, we don't look at it very scientifically. Believe me, my family astrologer told me after 28 years, after working for 3 different companies, that my strength, my natural ability is 3 things: speaking, researching, and writing. Imagine, he can only give a direction. But the moment I found my direction, I said, okay. So I speak on Chanakya, I research on Chanakya, I write on Chanakya, and I'm number one in that field. So remember one thing, whatever be your method, you don't have to change fields. You can find what you're good. So it's like, take your Google map first before you take the journey. So I think it's very important to make a good career financially, but it's very important to also make sure that you are happy in your career. Successful career people may not be happy in their career. So another thing I would like to bring in, since you asked this question, there's a difference between growth and maturity. See, growth can be easily understood because you have designations, your hierarchy. So let's say you're a salesperson, then you become a senior salesperson, sales manager, vice president, president. So that's growth. But maturity is something which is very different from growth. Like for example, every president of a company may not be matured. Therefore, I always say growth can be done with lot of methods, but maturity comes with a lot of different levels. Like for example, you become the captain of a cricket team, but not every captain of a cricket team has the maturity to lead a cricket team. So he has grown from a player to a vice captain to a captain. That's growth. You can see it. But the maturity requires insight and foresight. So please develop your maturity along with your growth in your career. Believe me, that's more sustainable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Excellent. I think the first thing is about Swadharma. And I think that goes well with self-awareness. That one of our speakers, I think that was the IIM Kozhikode director,
Yes,
who mentioned that this is extremely important, that more than anything else in employability, self-awareness is important. I think you're pointing out in a way, you're pointing out at the same thing, that you need to understand yourself, and you need not change that much, but if you develop on what you understand, maybe that's where it is. And the other thing is, I think the maturity part, which is it's a completely new point when brought in. I mean, the comparison between growth and maturity, and that, though it appears to be flat, it is not flat. There are unseen things which come into the human being there. And I think that's a wonderful point. Thank you very much.
wonderful. So thank you very much, sir. I think this session has been particularly the most highly involved kind of session. There's a large number of, is in fact a deluge of comments and compliments coming your way, because they're actually listening to each and every word and they're enjoying it. That is the mark of the involvement. So thank you very much for that. On behalf of all the participants and on behalf of ICFAI group, we would like to thank you for this wonderful session. How wonderful this session has been, I will just highlight a few points just as a benefit to myself and also some of our participants. There are hundreds of takeaways, but I'll just highlight a few, if you permit me. This is one session where you have been a front runner in terms of bringing ancient knowledge and wisdom and presenting it in a simple and modern format. I think that's what has been the banner of this entire conversation and the session. Number two, you have simplified, demystified the Arthashastra and made it extremely relevant in your own style. Those slides and 7 tips or 3 important steps, every time you mentioned those things, it was very nice and easy and pithy for us to grasp. So you made it very simple and you made it relevant. You made it relevant in such a form that India is actually a powerhouse of knowledge and our culture has been a knowledge culture. But how do we harness this culture and how do we harness this knowledge? Only by textualizing and contextualizing. I think that's a very, very important takeaway that we have had from the conversation. We need to document it as well as make it contextual so that it is useful for all of us. We listen to it, we appreciate and apply in our own situations, and that's where we're going to make the most of this treasure that's available with us. And therefore, you have painted and also helped us understand that Arthashastra is one of the best treatises on management and leadership that we have today. And that's the topic of the conversation today. In terms of action, identify potential leaders in the organizations, train them, and also give them positions on a pilot basis. And these are very simple steps, but it exhorts all the leaders. There are leaders at various levels, but everyone can actually identify that. Only true leaders will build leaders. And how do they do it? By identifying, training, and giving them the positions. And the parallel and adjacent point that you mentioned in this context is that training or the need for training and assigning budgets for training is not just a HR function, but it is a leadership function. I think that's where it connects the adjacencies in terms of what kind of focus a leader will have, what kind of leadership pipeline one will build, and what kind of training values that one will inculcate by assigning money, by identifying people, and actually bringing in the right kind of people for the training purpose. So wonderful, sir. And somewhere at 75% of the conversation stage, you mentioned that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is the closest to the modern days Chanakya. I think you have given lots of parallels and reasons, the challenges one has handled and how those challenges actually have personified the Chanakya Niti. And therefore, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is the closest Jita Jagta example, not Jita Jagta example, as Professor Prasad said, flesh and blood example that one could have given. So thank you so much for that. The other thing that was always ringing in my mind while I was making notes is that you never win a silver medal, you will actually lose a gold one. I mean, this is extremely profound, stated in a simple manner. You have brought it out of the context and created those perspectives. This was in the context of what is the journey of rise for India and what are the steps that India will have to take up. I think you said very clearly, we need to get into the top 10, then get into top 3, and then be number 1. So there's a journey involved, there's a plan involved, there's an organization involved, there's leadership involved. I think there is strategy and philosophy that guides all these things. So that's a fantastic thing. And you also have told us that for India, especially for India, in this journey, the economic model will be the pathway and not the military model. The military model could have been a choice made by certain other countries at this stage, even today. But the journey and the rise to the top for India is the economic model, and we need to strengthen that to be on top. And we are already actually healthily progressing in that direction. So it was fantastic when you made these suggestions. And as a matter of optimism for students who are in India, for leaders who are in India, who are living in abroad, we have to believe. I mean, it starts with belief that apna time actually aa chuka hai. Our time has come and we need to act on it. The other thing is leaders will have to work on what is called succession plans. And if they don't work on succession plans, again, they're not leaving a good legacy of what the leadership is all about. People will grow, people will age, they will retire. But succession planning is like ensuring that your legacy stays, making sure that the benefits of the leadership that you have built in the organization is sustainable. I think succession planning is all about that. And people who continuously learn, people who continuously influence others will also have to be very, very sincere, but not serious. As you said, a smiling professor. I think we directly take those suggestions from you and make sure that we keep smiling. And like Jim Collins mentioned, we need to take out the Google map before even starting your journey. Before buying your bus, you should know where you want to go. Before appointing a driver, before having a bus or a vehicle, you should know where we are going. I think that's a fantastic point. And another important differentiation that you mentioned towards the end is growth versus maturity. Growth can be attained through various means, but maturity is a craft, is a cultivated. Someone who has successes and failures, someone who has blended young versus old, someone who has blended ancient wisdom with the modern management. I think that's where maturity comes. And maturity is something which is like chiseled out, straightened out, ironed out kind of a feature, whereas growth can be through any other means that one can have. And one thing that stood out, sir, is the Rajamandala theory, which triggered by a question from Lavanya also. How it is applicable, of course, in a mature, evolved kind of organizations or geopolitical context. But the takeaway for us, it is not the competition, but it's the co-opetition. I think that's what we take home today with that. But throughout the conversation, what you have mentioned is that we need to build our personal brand. We need to build a personal brand. For all the people who are around the screen today, they are here to take away a few lessons. This is called WiseViews Leadership Conversations. So the WiseViews that you are sharing for building our leadership pipeline or leadership for ourselves is to build a personal brand and go after those characteristic features of those leaders, the functions and the duties and the steps and the key takeaways that you have mentioned. They are directly useful. And if one keeps their eyes and ears open, this is possible. And it has to be done very sincerely, and it can be beautifully achieved. This is one of the most valuable and useful sessions in the recent times. And I'm extremely happy that you have made it, sir. You have created time for us. And therefore, at the end of the day, we have a lot of value on our plate to act upon and also reflect. So thank you very much for your patience and time, sir. It is 111 minutes, I think. So we will put an end to it, sir. One comment from you, and then we'll close, sir.
So my final comment is I'm very active on social media. So this session will end, but the knowledge doesn't end.
Right.
Knowledge is ever expanding. So if you want more about Chanakya, the books are there, social media videos are there. But I would still suggest all of you, please make sure all of you write books before you retire or after you retire. Because your wisdom has to be passed on to the next generation. So if you have knowledge and experience, it's a gift to mankind. So Please write a book in your lifetime before you die. Chanakya died 2,400 years ago physically. He's now no more accessible to us as a person. But his knowledge is accessible to us after 2,400 years. Each of us need not be a Chanakya, but we are good in our own space. So make sure you write a book for prosperity. The future generations will always thank you for documenting your ideas. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. I think we'll take that suggestion straight from you. We will summarize these conversations. We'll put it in a written format as well as a video format. We'll share it with you for your nod, and then we will publish it, sir. We have been having this, as I said, every Friday. We'll put it together so that it will benefit at least a few of the people out there who can read this book. Yes, we need to make this for posterity. And since we are having these conversations with extremely good people like you, most qualified as well as been there, done that kind of leaders, I think we will make it useful and also spread the word among the younger leaders, the leaders who would like to learn from you and publish these books. We will take your nod before doing that, sir. And I will also share with you beforehand the summary note. It is prepared by one of our senior advisors, Professor Vedpurishwar, and we will share it with you and make sure that our participants come back to us every Friday at 4:30 p.m. And next time, we have another young leader who is going to talk about how to decode the digital jungle. So this will be on 16th of September at 4:30 p.m. And I request all of you to come back. We will share the information with you. We'll post it on social media. But till then, go back and read about Chanakya, Chanakya Niti, the directly relevant and applicable lessons that we have in our management, in our leadership roles, in our own daily life as well. The discipline of finance and the discipline of your aspirations, couple it with upgrading the knowledge and joining one of the, any programs that you have, one of the best programs that you come across. Please join, upgrade your knowledge and stay relevant. And we'll see you next week and every week on Friday at 4:30. Thank you, sir. And thank you all for your patience.